Cheerio, Kyunge. Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Taekwon-Do Thursday. You'll notice I'm a little bit lower on the volume scale this week than normal. I've got a touch of laryngitis, which is one of the most annoying afflictions that an instructor can have, losing your voice. But nevertheless, I'm managing as best as I can today, and we're still going to get this week's video recorded. So let's get straight into it. While doing step sparring with my students over the last couple of weeks, I've noticed that at times, due to adrenaline usually, the students block beyond the point of focus. So I thought it would be good to do a video and explain the different lines of the body and heights and where the techniques are meant to be delivered without a partner, but also even with a partner. So let's have a look at it. So we've got 5 lines of the body. Technically, you could break that down into 3 if you like, because there's 2 pairs of the same line. We've got our center line, which goes down the middle of the body through the tip of the nose, the point of the chin, the solar plexus, all the way down. Then you've got 2 chest lines, or sometimes called nipple lines, and then 2 shoulder lines. So they're the lines of the body, vertical lines. Now we've also got our heights, where the body is divided into the different sections. Shoulder height and above is high section. Shoulder as far as your umbilicus or your belly button is middle section, and from the umbilicus down is low section. When, as an attacker, we're delivering a technique, if we want to do a middle attack, we use the coordinates of our own body. So if it's a middle punch, it's shoulder high, or a middle block, it's shoulder high. If it's a hand technique and it's eye level, then it's a high attack. So a high attack would be your eye level. We have a specific coordinate. Okay? Sometimes it's changed for kicks. A middle side piercing kick would be shoulder high, but a middle front snap kick would be to the solar plexus height of yourself. So you just have to learn those little differences, those quirks if you like. So let's talk about how we use the lines of the body for attack and defense. When we're doing front techniques, it means you're full facing and your attack or block is on the center line. So a front attack is full facing and you're on the center line. Anytime you're half facing or side facing, it's called a side technique. So a side attack or a side block. Half facing or side facing, it's called a side technique, whatever the technique is. If you're full facing, but the technique is on the shoulder line, then it's called a side front technique. So for example, a side front block. A side front block would be full facing and on the shoulder line. When we're doing side techniques, usually the technique is on the chest line. So now, let's look at an example from Chunji. Inner form, middle block in L stance. Now, because L stance is always half facing, we know it's automatically a side technique. Our inner form block comes to the chest line. But what happens a lot of times with students is they go beyond the point of focus. So you're in a weak position. You've exposed yourself because you've opened up your body, but even if you make a successful block, you're losing leverage when you go beyond the point of focus. So even if you're in a walking stance, you're still half facing, but you're blocking on that chest line. It's a strong position to be in. Forearm low block, same, you want your blocking tool on that chest line, not going beyond. So just to be aware of this for all students. And what happens is, when the adrenaline comes in step sparring, your opponent attacks you, let's say with a middle punch, and you're blocking, but then you push, even though you've made contact, you've done a successful block, you push beyond the point of focus. That's something that you want to avoid. When you block, you should be able to stop there. The power of your technique will deflect the attack sufficiently for it to be a successful block, as long as you've done the block correctly in the first place. But if you make that contact, you don't need to push beyond. Okay, for most blocks are impact blocks. We're not talking about another category of block, which is a pushing block. That's a little bit different. Right now we're talking about our typical blocks, where impact means we want to cause damage, basically. When we're naming the techniques, it's just important to have correct terminology. For example, we say, as I said earlier, when you're doing a high punch, you're punching to your eye level, but we wouldn't typically say it's a high section punch. It's a high punch, because remember, you could be punching an opponent who is much, much taller than you or much, much smaller than you. So your high punch is your eye level, but let's say you have an absolute monster of an opponent, it might hit them in the solar plexus, but you still call it a high punch, because in relation to you, it's a high punch. So, but when you're hitting the attacker, on them, you're hitting them in their middle section, because you're hitting them in the solar plexus. So try to have a handle on that correct terminology for your better understanding of your training. I think that's enough covered for this week on the lines of the body and the different heights. So let's see how you get on with that. Cheerio, kyungye. Have a great week, everybody.